For decades, Western researchers and theologians have been looking in the wrong direction for the rise of the final global empire. The traditional model assumes this impending threat will emerge as a revived European Roman Empire. That assumption relies on a specific, geographically European interpretation of historical data. To understand what is actually happening, we have to establish a foundational rule of biblical logic. The beast described in prophecy is not a single human leader. It is a vast geopolitical, military, and religious kingdom. Look at this map. When you rigorously cross-reference biblical texts with regional geography, the focus shifts entirely away from Europe. The data points directly toward the ancient lands of the prophets, specifically Turkey, Syria, and Israel. This geographic correction leads us to the mirror image thesis. This is the concept that Islamic eschatological traditions form a perfect mathematical reversal of biblical prophecy. This alignment creates a pre-programmed framework for a massive global deception. The key actors in the eschatologies of both faiths perfectly swap roles. By defining the beast as a Middle Eastern kingdom, we expose a typological inversion. The figures arriving as Islamic saviors perfectly match the operational profile of the biblical villains. Revelation 17 provides a specific timeline of world empires. 5 are fallen, 1 currently exists, and 1 has yet to come. Relative to John's era, the 5 fallen empires are Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, and Greece. The empire that currently is was Rome. That leaves the 7th head. To fit the prophetic sequence, this empire must conquer the remnants of the Roman system and rule over the geographic territory of Jerusalem. The Ottoman Empire fulfills both requirements. They conquered Byzantium, the last vestige of Rome, and maintained control over Jerusalem for 400 years. The text introduces another specific parameter. The beast suffers a deadly wound that is eventually healed. In 1924, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk officially abolished the Ottoman Caliphate. This act severed the centralized political and religious head of the Islamic world. For a century, this system has remained in the prophetic is-not phase. The kingdom dissolved. The prophecy states the 8th beast is a revival of the 7th. Today, we see the aggressive resurgence of a Neo-Ottoman caliphate, centralized in Turkey. This aligns with the prophet Daniel's descriptions of the King of the North. Geographically, this kingdom invades Israel directly from the Syria and Turkey vector. The beast system is a revived Islamic caliphate. With the geographic and historical stage set, we must now examine the specific actors appearing within it. This matrix allows us to compare the supreme leader of this revived kingdom across both biblical prophecy and Islamic tradition. On the left, the Biblical Antichrist is a singular political and military leader who demands global dominance. On the right, the Islamic Mahdi is the awaited savior and conqueror who eventually rules the world. Look at the operational timelines. The Antichrist establishes a 7-year covenant. The Mahdi makes a 7-year treaty. Both figures mandate a universal religious system. Both use military force to eliminate any opposition to their rule. The probability of these disparate traditions independently generating the same specific numbers and timelines suggests a shared structural logic rather than an accidental similarity. The heroic savior programmed into Islamic tradition operates with the exact resume, timeline, and goals of the ultimate biblical villain. The biblical framework introduces a second actor, the false prophet. This figure performs signs and forces global worship of the beast system. The Islamic counterpart is Isa, the Islamic version of Jesus. However, Isa does not return as the Son of God, but strictly as a Muslim prophet. According to Islamic tradition, Isa's mission is to point the world to the Mahdi. He explicitly denies his crucifixion, an act called breaking the cross. He acts as an enforcer. Isa forcefully subjugates or eliminates non-believers who refuse the Mahdi's supreme rule. This theology is codified in Middle Eastern architecture. Consider the Dome of the Rock. The inscriptions wrapping its walls are not generic prayers. They are specific, targeted polemics denying the sonship of Jesus. This system hijacks the identity of Jesus. It turns his Islamic counterpart into the exact false prophet described in biblical warnings. To finish the mapping, we must look at the final figure, the Dajjal, or Great Deceiver. Islamic prophecies describe the Dajjal as someone who arrives defending the Jewish people and claims divinity. Compare this to the biblical prophecy of Jesus Christ. As this matrix shows, the true Christ returns to defend Israel and defeat the beast kingdom. The biblical hero perfectly matches the Islamic villain. This inversion prepares billions of adherents to view the actual returning Christ as the ultimate enemy to be destroyed. These reversals act like a lock and key, designed to redirect faith from its original target. When we assemble these profiles, the mapping reveals a total inversion. The Antichrist is the Mahdi, the false prophet is Isa, and the enemy they are waiting to fight is the true Jesus Christ. Unifying an empire around a pre-programmed savior provides a degree of internal cohesion that a secular state cannot achieve. By focusing on a European Roman revival, Western eschatology has left millions blind to the actual geopolitical fault lines shifting in the East. The final challenge to biblical truth does not come from secular Europe. It comes from the ancient lands of the prophets. As the geopolitical stage aligns with the ancient warnings, we must rely purely on the rigorous logic of the primary texts and demand sharp discernment. Understanding the Eastern shift is the only way to decode the geopolitical alignment currently taking shape.